Hi, I'm Jo Wiltshire. I'm a parenting expert and author. I've written 3 parenting books, and I also coach young people and families and parents as well. And my ethos really, and the ethos of the books, is to empower parents to trust their own instincts and to discover what works for them and their families and their circumstances, because there's no one answer. And lots of people have very, very different sets of circumstances that they're dealing with. What I am not is a kind of a guru dispensing advice from on high and living a perfect life, because actually we all know that doesn't happen. What my books rely on a lot on as well is talking to parents about sort of reporting from the front line. So I have a huge cohort of parent contributors who help me, and they're sort of my bank of parents. And having spent a lot of time talking to parents in all different circumstances, age groups, difficult scenarios with their children, it's enabled me to build up that kind of knowledge as well to pass on to other parents. From the coaching side of things, what coaching is all about is enabling people to discover where it is they want to go, and to get there a little bit more quickly, a little bit more easily than if they were trying to do it on their own. It's not about telling people what to do. That's what they have to find for themselves. And that ties in quite neatly with the way my books work and the way that I talk to families and parents, because it's usually that the parents and the families do have the answers, and the answers that are right for their child, because every parent is an expert in their own child. They just maybe need a little bit of help in finding those answers or in prioritising things. So these are the 3 books that I've written. The first one was Sneaky Parenting, Smart Shortcuts to Happy Families. And this was very much a kind of dip-in book where parents could give their best imaginative tips on how to deal with anything from bedwetting to sleep problems to food to all the things that provide so much angst in most parents' day-to-day lives. And it's also written with some humour there as well, which I quite like in a general approach, because it's, you know, sometimes it's like parents going to a coffee morning and having a good chat. And yes, things can be difficult at home, but it's quite nice sometimes to have a light-hearted chat with other parents and get their best ideas as well. It doesn't always have to be doom and gloom. And then I have the Baby Sleep Bible and the Potty Training Bible. And they were written along the same lines. They still have a lot of parent involvement. And what they do is look at people's circumstances. So the way you might approach what kind of approach you want for your baby in terms of sleep, for instance, will differ if you're, you know, it might be your 6th baby and you're fitting in with a huge family. You might be a single parent and it's your first baby. And so it was looking at a range of different scenarios and how people could take the best bits for them that suited them. I also act as a parenting expert for BBC Radio, so I take live calls on the radio from parents calling in. And I worked for several years as a journalist at the Mail on Sunday, and have a background as a journalist. So I'm very aware of the kinds of issues that are in the press at the moment, the hot topics, parenting and family-wise. I keep on top of those and have a lot of contacts as well that enable me to stay up to date with everything. So some of the areas that I specialise in are baby sleep approaches. So that's looking at even from from pregnancy onwards, and people are deciding on that first moment when we bring the baby home, how are we going to do it, where's it going to go, when's it going to move, and looking at quite diverse methods, from very structured methods where, you know, the baby is encouraged to move into its own nursery fairly early, to co-sleeping and attachment parenting and that kind of thing. What are the pros and cons? What are the safety issues? How you can manage it around your existing lifestyle. I also have a lot to do with potty training. So everything from the different approaches. There are approaches where people can start this almost from birth, or approaches where people want to wait quite a long time and let the child lead the way on that, everything in between. And going into areas where it then may be more of an issue to do with enuresis, bedwetting and ongoing issues as the child gets older as well. And and I also deal with food issues, fussy eaters, issues with wider family as well, so where grandparents step in and have a carer's role and how to manage that, some of the difficulties that can arise, and also things like, how to manage a play date when you don't know how to do it and everybody's at the school gates and it's becoming quite fraught, and some of the more seemingly light-hearted topics but which can actually be a real bugbear for a lot of parents. They don't know quite what to do, they just need some tips, some ideas on how to manage those things. What I really love about what I do is working with parents, families, to help them find their own answers. So, as I said, it's not about somebody saying, someone like me saying, this is the only way you should do it. You should follow these rules. Everything will be perfect in your life. It's this way or no way at all. That's not what I do. What I like to do is listen to a child or a family together or parents and actually find out how their life works, and then maybe make them aware of a few choices or slight changes that they could make that are probably already there but they might not have noticed, that will just make things slightly easier, slightly happier. And sometimes small changes can have very big effects, and that's very rewarding to see a person or a family finding their own answers and making it work. And it's much more effective as well if they find it themselves. It tends to be ongoing, whereas if someone just says go away and try this and stick to it, they won't stick to it for very long and they'll be back where they were. So I find that really rewarding. I've always written. I still continue to write as a journalist on parenting topics. And for me, being able to combine the two and speak to the most amazing families and individuals and hear their stories and help other people who we all like to hear other people's stories, and often we can find a great deal of useful information just in hearing other people's way of doing things. And I suppose I feel like I sort of facilitate that. That's really rewarding.